flash photography is not permitted during the show. And now it is our honor to present 1776 with our cast of 27 Girard students who were specially selected by the Pennsylvania Legislature to represent the art of student theater in Pennsylvania during the 2004 Arts and Education Day at the state capitol. These students were honored to perform for Governor Ed Rendell, Speaker of the House John Purcell, Senator Jane Earl, Representatives John Evans and Flo Fabrizio, and countless other legislators, dignitaries, and officials of the Pennsylvania Department of Education. We hope you enjoy the performance.
That one useless man is called a disgrace, that two are called a law firm, and that three or more become a Congress. And by God, I've had this Congress. For 10 years, King George and his parliament have gullied and diddled these colonies with their illegal taxes, stamp acts, tea acts, sugar acts, Townsend acts, and when we dared stand up like men, they stopped our trade, seized our ships, blockaded our ports, burned our villages, and spilled our blood. And still, this Congress won't grant any of my proposals on independence. Not even so much as a courtesy on open debate. Good God, what the hell are they waiting for? Sit down, John. Sit down, John. For God's sake, John, sit down. Sit down, John. Sit down. Of locusts everywhere, or a cataclysmic earthquake, I'd accept with some despair. But no, you've sent us Congress. Good God, sir, was that fair? I say this with humility. Philadelphia, we're your responsibility. In Philadelphia, if you don't want to see us hanging on some far-off British hill, if you don't want the voice of independency forever still, then God, sir, get thee to it, for Congress never will. You see, we pip, twiddle, and resolve, not one damn thing do we solve. Twiddle, twiddle, and resolve. Nothing's ever solved in foul, fetid, fuming, foggy, filthy Philadelphia. Someone ought to here for years and years in Philadelphia. These indecisive grenadiers of Philadelphia. They can't agree on what is right or wrong, or what is good or bad. I'm convinced the only purpose this Congress ever had was to gather here specifically to drive John Adams mad. You see, we pin, twiddle, and resolve. Not one damn thing do we solve. Piddle, twiddle, and resolve. Nothing's ever solved in foul, fetid, fuming, foggy, filthy Philadelphia.
John, is that you carrying on? John!
Oh, Abigail, I have such a desire to knock heads together.
I know, my dearest, I know. But that's because you make everything so complicated. It's all quite simple, really. Just tell the Congress to declare independency. Then sign your name, get out of there, and hurry home to me. Our children all have dysentery. Little Tom keeps turning blue. Little Abby has the measles, and I'm coming down with flu. They say we may get smallpox.
Madam, what else is new? Abigail, in my last letter, I told you the king has collected 12,000 German mercenaries to send against us. I asked you to organize the ladies to make saltpeter forgotten about. Now, have you done as I asked?
No, John, I have not.
And why have you not?
Because in your last letter, you neglected to tell us how saltpeter is made.
By treating sodium nitrate with potassium chloride, of course.
Oh, yes, of course.
Will it be done then?
I'm afraid we have a more urgent problem, John.
More urgent, madam.
There's one thing every woman's missed in Massachusetts Bay. Don't smirk at me, you egotist. Pay heed to what I say. We've gone from Framingham to Boston, and we cannot find a pin. Don't you know there's a war on, sage tradesman with a grin? Well, we will not make saltpeter until you send us pins.
Pins, madam. Saltpeter.
Pins.
Saltpeter.
Pins.
Saltpeter.
Pins.
Saltpeter.
Pins.
Peter.
Pins.
Peter.
Pins.
Peter.
Pins.
Done. Done.
Done, John. Hurry home.
As soon as I may.
And don't stop writing. It's all I have.
Every day, my dearest friend.
Till then, I am as I ever was and ever shall be. Yours, 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 yours. Saltpeter John. Pimps Abigail. For God's sake, John, sit down.
Franklin! Franklin! There you are. Franklin, where the hell have you been?
Right here, John, being preserved for posterity. Do you like it?
It stinks.
As ever, the soul of tact.
The man's no Botticelli.
And the subject's no Venus.
Franklin, you heard what I suffered in there.
Heard? Of course I heard. Along with the rest of Philadelphia. Lord, your voice is piercing, John.
I wish to heaven my arguments were. Good God, Franklin, what are they going to learn? With one hand, they can raise an army and dispatch one of their own to lead it, and then cheer the news from Bunker's Hill. While with the other, they can raise the olive branch begging the king for a happy and permanent reconciliation. Why, damn it, Fat George has declared us in rebellion. Why the bloody hell can't they?
John, you make it sound as if independence were the rule. It's never been done before. No colony has ever broken off from the parent stem in the history of the world.
Damn it, Franklin, you make us sound treasonous.
Do I? Treason. Treason is a charge invented by the winners as an excuse for hanging the losers.
I have more to do than to stand here and listen to you quote yourself.
No, that was a new one.
Franklin, we're at war!
To defend ourselves, nothing more. We expressed our displeasure and the English have moved against us, and we have resisted. Now our fellow congressmen want to effect a reconciliation before it becomes a war.
Reconciliation, my ass. The people want independence.
The people have read Mr. Paine's common sense. I doubt the Congress has. Why don't you give it up, John? Nobody listens to you. You are obnoxious and disliked.
I'm not promoting John Adams. I'm promoting independence.
Evidently, they cannot help connecting the two.
What are you suggesting?
Let somebody else in Congress propose.
Never. Why? Who did you have in mind?
I don't know. I really haven't given it that much thought.
You sent for me, Benjamin.
Never.
Why, hello, Johnny.
Richard.
Richard, John and I need some advice.
Well, if it's mine to give, it's yours. You know that.
Yes, thank you, Richard. Now, you know, the cause we support has come to a complete standstill. Why do you suppose that is?
Well, that's simple. Johnny here, he's obnoxious and disliked.
Yes, that's true. What's the solution? I wonder.
Let someone else in Congress propose.
Richard, that's brilliant. Wasn't that brilliant, John?
Brilliant.
Ah, yes. Now the question remains. Who? The man we need must belong to a delegation publicly committed to supporting independence. And at the present time, only Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Delaware have declared our way.
And Virginia, Benji. Don't forget Virginia.
Oh, I haven't, Richard. How could I? But strictly speaking, while Virginia's views on independence are well known, your legislature in Williamsburg has never formally authorized its cause in Congress to support independence. Of course, if we could think of a Virginian to go down there and persuade the House of Burgesses.
Well, damn me if I haven't thought of someone.
Who?
Me!
Why didn't I think of that?
Well, I'll leave tonight. Hell, right now, if you like. I'll stop up in Stratford just long enough to visit the missus, and then straight to the matter. Virginia! The land that gave us our glorious commander-in-chief, George Washington, will now grant the continent its proposal on independence. And where Virginia goes, the South is bound to follow. And where the South goes, the middle colonies go. Gentlemen, a salute to Virginia, the mother of American independence.
Incredible. We're free and he hasn't even left yet. What makes you so sure you can do it?
Ha! My name is Richard Henry Lee. Virginia is my home. My name is Richard Henry Lee. Virginia is my home. And may my horses turn to glue if I can't deliver up to you a resolution on independency. Yes, I'm the FFV, the first family in the southern colony of Virginia. Yes,
sleep, God help us.
He will, John, he will. They say that God in heaven is everybody's God.
Amen.
But admit that God in heaven is everybody's God. And I tell you, John, with pride, God leans a little on the side of the least of old Virginia. Yes, sir, by God, it's eerily, verily, everywhere a lee, eerily, verily, everywhere a lee. Look out, there's Arthur Lee, Bobby Lee, and General Lighthorse Harry Lee, Willie Lee, Jesse Lee,
And Richard H.
that's me! And may my blood stop running blue if I can't deliver up to you a resolution on independency. You see, it's eerily, verily. Come on, boys, join in with me. Eerily, verily.
When do you leave?
Immediately. Eerily, verily.
When do you return?
Shortly, eerily, verily, and I'll come back triumphantly, eerily, verily, everywhere I leave,
That was the most revolting display I've ever witnessed.
They're all warm-blooded people, Virginians.
Not him, Franklin, you! You and your infernal obsession with deviousness. If you would have gotten straight to the point, he would have been gone a half an hour ago.
Cheer up, John. At this very moment, my cause is again riding high, sitting straight in the saddle, and in full gallop for Virginia.
and now we meet now serene,
Good God.
Full-bosomed.
full bosom, Benji. Everyone a queen. Why, they are lees, damn it, lees of old Virginia. Yes, sir, by God, it's eerily, verily, everywhere a lee, eerily, verily, everywhere a lee, forward,
Yes?
I'm Dr. Lyman Hall, new delegate from Georgia.
I'm Andrew McNair, congressional custodian. If you would want anything at all, just holler out McNair as you hear the others do, and there won't be too long to wait.
Where does the Georgia delegation belong?
Oh, they mill about over there, near the two Carolinas.
It's after 10. I was told Congress convenes at 10.
They'll be wandering in any time now, with old Grape and Guts leading the pack.
Old who?
McNair,
Grape and Guts.
fetch me a mug of rum.
Mr. Hopkins, you'll be pleased to meet Dr. Lyman Hall.
I don't need a doctor, damn it.
New delegate from Georgia.
Why didn't you say so? I'm Stephen Hopkins, old delegate from Rhode Island. McNair, 2 mugs of rum.
I fear it's a little early in the day, sir.
Nonsense. It's a medicinal fact that rum gets a man's heart started in the morning. I'm surprised you didn't know it. Speaking as the oldest member of the Congress.
Ah, Ben Franklin's older by almost a year.
Rum! So tell me, Dr. Hall, where does Georgia stand in the question of independence?
South Carolina, of course.
Good morning, Nettie. Shake the hand of Dr. Lyman Hall from Georgia. Doctor, this here is Nettie from whichever Carolina he says he's from. God knows I can't keep him straight.
Bless you, Dr. Hall.
Your servant, Mr. Rutledge.
You met the long and short of it now, Doctor. Nettie here's only 26. He's the youngest of us.
Except for Ben Franklin.
McNair!
You're wrong.
Where'd you go for it, man? Jamaica?
Tell me, Dr. Hall, where does Georgia stand on the question of independence at the present time?
I'm here without instructions, able to vote my own personal convictions.
And they are?
Personal.
Dr. Hall, the deep South speaks with one voice. It is traditional, and even more, it is historical. Enter Delaware, tree adjunct in Uno.
Speak plain, Rutledge. You know I can't follow none of your damn French.
Latin, Colonel McKean. A tribute to the eternal peace and harmony of the Delaware delegation.
Now, what are you saying, man? You know perfectly well neither Rodney nor I can stand that much warrant.
Gentlemen, this is Dr. Lyman Hall from Georgia. Colonel Thomas McKean, George Reed, and Caesar Rodney.
But where do you stand on the question of independence, sir?
In South Carolina, it seems.
I leave the doctor in excellent company, gentlemen.
Tell me, sir, would you be a doctor of medicine or of theology?
Both, Mr. Rodney. Which one can be of service?
By all means, the physician first. Then we'll see about the other.
I'll call your convenience, sir.
Caesar, I trust that when you're through converting the poor fellow to independency, they'll give the opposition a fair crack at him.
You're too late, John. Once I get him, they're got. This is Dr. Lyman Hall of Georgia, Mr. John Dickinson of Pennsylvania.
An honor, sir.
Your servant.
Judge Wilson, forgive me, but how can anyone see you if you insist on standing in Mr. Dickinson's shadow? James Wilson, also of Pennsylvania.
Sir, an honor, sir.
You get out of my way, please.
Good morning, all. Good Lord, you have the honor to be Dr. Franklin.
Yes, I have that honor. Unfortunately, the gout accompanies the honor.
Been living too high again, ain't Pappy?
Stephen, I only wish King George felt like my big toe. All over.
McNair, fetch a pillow. 2 more mugs of rum.
All right, Franklin, where is he? Where's that idiot, please? He is back yet? I don't see him.
Softly, John. Your voice is hurting my foot.
One more day. Another minute longer. That strutting Papa J was so damn sure of himself, he could have brought back a dozen proposals by now.
Tell me, James, how do you explain the strange monumental quietude that Congress has been treated to these past 30 days? Has the ill wind of independence finally blown itself out?
You ask me?
For myself, I must confess that a month free from New England noise is more therapeutic than a month in the country. Would you agree, James?
Well,
Mr. Adams, pray look for your voice, sir. It cannot be far, and God knows we need the entertainment in this Congress.
Congratulations, John. You've just made your greatest contribution to independence. You kept your flap shut.
One more day.
Gentlemen, the usual morning festivities concluded, I'll now call the Congress to order. Mr. Thompson?
The Second Continental Congress meeting in Philadelphia is now in session. June 1776, the 380th meeting.
Sweet Jesus.
The Honorable John Hancock of Massachusetts Bay, President.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Mr. McNair, the stores of rum and other drinking spirits are hereby closed to the colony of Rhode Island for a period of 3 days.
Yes, sir.
But John, you can't do that.
Sit down, Mr. Hopkins. You've abused the privilege. The chair takes this opportunity to welcome Dr. Lyman Hall of Georgia to this Congress and hopes he will make the most of it. God, it's hot. The Secretary will read the roll.
All members present with the following exceptions. Mr. Charles Carroll of Maryland, Mr. Samuel Adams of Massachusetts, Mr. Button Gwinnett of Georgia, Mr. George Witham, Mr. Richard Henry Lee of Virginia, and the entire delegation of New Jersey.
I'm concerned over the continued absence of 1/13 of this Congress. Where is New Jersey?
Somewhere between New York and Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much. Dr. Franklin, have you heard anything? Your son resides there.
Son, sir? What son?
The Royal Governor of New Jersey, sir.
Is that title much jest, sir? We are not in touch at the present time.
Yes, well, the weather report. Mr. Jefferson of Virginia? Mr. Jefferson!
Present, sir.
Did we hear about the weather? Warrant speaking for itself.
.87 degrees of temperature. 30.06 inches of mercury. Wind from the southwest for the rest of the day. And tonight I leave for home.
On business?
Family business.
Give her a good one for me, young feller.
Yes, sir, I will.
York, dispatch number 1137.
Wait, Jesus.
To the Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President, dear sir, it is with grave apprehension that I have learned this day of the sailing from Halifax, Nova Scotia, of a considerable force of British troops in the company of foreign mercenaries and under the command of General Sir William Howe. There can be no doubt that their destination is New York, for to take and to hold this city and the Hudson Valley beyond would serve to separate New England from the other colonies, permitting both sections to be crushed in turn. Sadly, I see no way of stopping them at present time, as my army is absolutely falling apart. My military chest is totally exhausted. My commissary general has strained his credit to the last. My quartermaster has no food, no arms, no ammunition, and my troops are in a state of near mutiny. I pray God some relief arise before the Armada, but fear it will not. Your obedient, G. Washington.
Mr. President,
Colonel McCain?
surely we have managed to promote the gloomiest man on this continent to the head of our troops. Those dispatches are the most depressing accumulation of disaster, doom, and despair in the entire annals of military history. And furthermore...
Please, Colonel McCain.
What?
It's too hot.
I suppose so.
General Washington will continue wording his dispatches as he sees fit, and I'm sure we all pray he finds happier thoughts to convey in the near future.
Resolved that for the duration of the present hostilities, the Congress discourage every type of extravagance and dissipation, elaborate funerals, and other expensive diversions, especially all horse races.
Benjamin, back! I'm back, Johnny!
Richard, we're pleased to see you.
What news, dear boy? What news?
Please, I'm done.
First things first. Tom! Where's Tom? Tom! Your little wife wants to know.
What?
When's he coming home? I leave tonight.
Never mind that. Is it done?
Done. Why, certain. Leave. Mr. President, I've returned from Virginia with the following resolution. Resolved that these United Colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. That they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is, and ought to be, totally dissolved.
Mr. President, I second the proposal.
Resolution has been proposed and seconded. The chair will now entertain debate.
Mr. President, Pennsylvania moves, as always, that the question of independence be postponed indefinitely.
I second the motion.
Judge Wilson, in your eagerness to be loved, you seem to have forgotten that Pennsylvania cannot second its own motion.
Delaware seconds.
You ornery little roach.
Motion to postpone has been moved and seconded. Mr. Thompson?
On the motion to postpone indefinitely the resolution of independency or proceed with debate, all those in favor of debate say yea. All those for postponement say nay. New Hampshire.
New Hampshire favors debate and says yay.
New Hampshire says yea. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, having bore the brunt of the king's tyranny. Yes, I said tyranny. Massachusetts now and for all time says yea.
Massachusetts says yea. Rhode Island. Rhode Island. Where's Rhode Island?
Oh, Rhode Island is out visiting the necessary.
After Rhode Island's consumed, I can't say I'm surprised. We'll come back to it, Mr. Thompson.
Rhode Island passes. Connecticut.
While Connecticut has till now been against this proposal, our legislature has instructed me that in the event it is introduced by any colony outside of New England, Connecticut can no longer withhold its support. Connecticut says yay.
Connecticut says yay. New York.
Mr. Secretary, New York abstains. Courteously.
New York abstains.
Courteously.
New Jersey.
Absent, Mr.
Oh,
Secretary.
yes, New Jersey is absent. Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, for the 24th time, says nay.
Pennsylvania says nay. Delaware.
Delaware, as ever for independence, says yay.
Delaware says yay. Maryland.
Maryland would gladly welcome independence if it were to be given, but is yet highly skeptical that it can be taken. Maryland says nay.
Maryland says nay. Virginia.
Virginia, the first colony, says yea.
Virginia says yay. North Carolina.
North Carolina says respectfully yields to South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Mr. President, although we in South Carolina have never seriously considered the question of independence, when a gentleman like Mr. Lee proposes it, attention must be paid. However, us in the Deep South, unlike our friends in New England, have no cause for impatience at the present time. If at some future date it becomes the wish of all our sister colonies to effect a separation, we will not stand in the way. But for the time being, South Carolina will wait and watch. Vote is nay.
South Carolina says nay.
North Carolina
says nay. Yes, Mr. Hughes, I know. Georgia. Georgia.
Mr. Secretary, Georgia seems to be split right down the middle on this issue. The people are against it, and I'm for it. I'm not yet certain whether representing the people means relying on their judgment or on my own. In all fairness, until I can figure it out, I better lean a little toward their side. Georgia says nay.
Georgia says nay. Rhode Island. Second call, Rhode Island.
I'm coming. Hold your damn horses.
Well, we're waiting on you, Mr. Hopkins.
It won't kill you. You think the Congress would have its own pisser. All right, where does it stand?
5 for debate, 5 for postponement, 1 abstention and 1 absence.
So it's up to me, is it? Well, I'll tell you, in all my years, I never heard, seen, nor smelled an issue so dangerous it couldn't be talked about. Hell yes, I'm for debating anything. Rhode Island says yay.
McNair, give Mr. Hopkins a rump.
What you said?
Give him the whole damn barrel if he wants.
Yes, sir.
The chair now declares this Congress a committee of the whole for the purposes of debating Virginia's resolution on independence. Mr. Dickinson?
Well now, you've got your way at last, haven't you, Mr. Adams? The matter may now be discussed. I must admit there has been one question I've been fairly itching to ask you. Why?
Why what, Mr. Dickinson?
Why independence, Mr. Adams?
For the obvious reason that our continued association with Great Britain has grown intolerable.
To whom? To you? Well then, I suggest you sever your ties immediately. But please be kind enough to address us where we are. Personally, I have no objection to being part of the greatest empire on earth, to enjoying its protection and sharing its benefits.
Benefits? What benefits? Cruel repressions? Crippling taxes? Abolished rights?
Is that all England means to you, sir? Is that all the affection and pride you can muster for the nation that bore you? For the noblest, most civilized nation in the face of this planet? Would you have us forsake Hastings and Magna Carta? And for what? Tell me for what, sir? For you? Some men are patriots, like General Washington. Others are anarchists, like Mr. Paine. Some even are internationalists, like Dr. Franklin. But you, sir, you merely are an agitator, disturbing the peace, creating disorder, endangering the public welfare, and for what? Your petty little personal complaints. Your taxes are too high. Well, sir, so are mine. Come, Mr. Adams, if you have grievances, and I'm sure you have, our present system must provide a gentler means of adjusting them short of revolution. That's what he wants. Nothing short of it will satisfy him. Violence, rebellion, treason. Now, Mr. Adams, are these the acts of an Englishman?
Not Englishman, Dickinson, American.
No, sir, Englishman.
Please, Mr. Dickinson, what must you start banging? How is a man to sleep?
Please forgive me, Dr. Franklin, but must you start speaking? How's a man to stay awake? We'll promise to be quiet, sir. I'm sure everyone prefers that you remain asleep.
If I'm to hear myself called an Englishman, sir, I'd assure you that I'd prefer I remain asleep.
What's so terrible about being called an Englishman? The English don't seem to mind.
Nor would I, were I given the full rights of an Englishman. But to call me one without those rights is like calling an ox a bull. He's thankful for the honor, but he'd much rather have restored what is rightfully his.
When did you first notice that they were missing, sir? Fortunately, Dr. Franklin, the people of these colonies hold a higher regard for their mother country.
Higher, certainly, than she feels for them. Never was such a valuable possession so stupidly and recklessly managed that this entire continent by the British Crown. Our industries discouraged and our resources pillaged. And worst of all, our very character they're stifled. We've spawned a new race here. Rougher, simpler, more enterprising, and less refined. We're a new nationality, Mr. Dickinson. We require a new nation.
That may be your opinion, Dr. Franklin, but as I said, the people feel quite different.
What do you know about the people, Dickinson? You don't speak for the people. You represent only yourself. And the precious status quo you keep imploring everybody to preserve for their own good is merely the eternal preservation of your own property.
Mr. Adams, you have an annoying talent for making such delightful words as property sound quite distasteful. In heaven's name, what's wrong with property? Perhaps you've forgotten that many of us first came to these shores in order to secure rights to property, and that we hold those rights no less dear than the rights you speak of.
So safe, so fat, so comfortable in Pennsylvania.
What is this independence of yours instead of the private periods of Massachusetts? Why is it always Boston that breaks the king's peace? My dear Congress, I ask you not to adopt this evil measure. It is the work of the devil. Leave it where it belongs, in New England.
Brother Dickinson, New England has been fighting the devil for more than 100 years.
And as of now, Brother Sherman, the devil's winning hands down. Why, at this very moment, he's sitting here in Congress. Don't let him deceive you. This proposal is entirely his doing.
Now wait, just a minute.
It may bear Virginia's name and reeks of Adams, Adams, and more Adams. Why can't I understand me there? We're to lead this country that I fire band of total destruction.
Good God, man. Why can't you acknowledge what already exists? It's been a year since Lexington and Concord. Damn it, man, we're at war!
You may be at war. You, Boston and John Adams, but you will never speak for Pennsylvania.
Nor for Delaware.
Mr. Reed, you represent only 1/3 of Delaware.
A sensible third, Mr. Rodney.
Sit down, you little weasel, or I knock you down.
Sit down, all three of you. McNair, do something about these damn flies. McNair, fetch me around. Get the flies first. Around.
I've only got 2 hands.
Christ, it's hot. Please, do go on, gentlemen. You're making the only breeze in Philadelphia.
Stats. Perhaps you could clear something up for me. After we've achieved independence, who do you propose will govern in South Carolina?
The people, of course.
Which people, sir? People of South Carolina or the people of Massachusetts?
Why don't you admit it, Nettie? You're against independence now, and you always will be.
You refuse to understand this, gentlemen. We desire independence, yes, for South Carolina. That is our country. And as such, we don't wish to belong to anyone. Not to England and not to you.
We intend to be one nation, Rutledge.
Nation of sovereign states, Mr. Adams, united for their mutual protection, but separate for their individual pursuits. That is what we've understood it to be, and that is what we will support as soon as everyone supports it.
There you are, Mr. Adams. You must see that we need time to make certain who we are and where we stand in regard to one another. For if we do not determine the nature of the beast before we set it free, it will end in consuming us all.
Good God, Wilson. For once in your life, take a chance. I say the time is now. It may never come again.
And I say your clock is fast, Mr. Adams. We're not yet ripe for independence.
Not right. Hell, we're running for one of it.
Gentlemen, please. What is the infernal hurry? Why must this question be settled now?
What's wrong with now, Mr. Chase?
General Washington is in the field, and if he's defeated, as it now appears, we'll be inviting the hangman. But if by some miracle he should actually win, then we can declare anything that we damn please.
The sentiments of North Carolina precisely.
Good God! Has it occurred to either of you that a nation needs something to fight for? A cause? A purpose? A flag of its own?
Mr. Adams, how can a nation of only 2 million souls stand up to an empire of 10 million? Think of it, 10 million. How do we compensate for that shortage? It's simple, Mr. Chase. Increase and multiply. How's that?
We will more than compensate. With spirit. There's spirit out there with the people, I tell you, that is sadly lacking in this Congress.
Yes, of course. Now it's spirit. Why did I think of that? No army, no navy, no guns, no ammunition, no treasury, no friends, but bless our souls, spirit. Mr. Lee, Mr. Hopkins, Mr. Rodney, Colonel McKean, Dr. Franklin, why have you joined this incendiary little man? This Boston radical, this demagogue, this agitator, this madman?
Are you calling me a madman? You frill!
Easy, John.
You and your Pennsylvania proprietors, you cool, considerate men, you keep to the rear of every issue so that if we go under, you will remain afloat.
Are you
Dr. Hall.
Caesar. It's the council.
I think he should go home.
Yes. A man should die in his own bed. John,
I'm here, Caesar.
I leave you a divided Delaware. Please forgive me.
I'll take you home, Caesar. I'll be back within the week.
Mr. President, South Carolina calls the question.
What's that, Mr. Rutledge?
So, Mr. President, South Carolina desires to end the debate on the question of independence.
You can't do that.
Gentlemen, please. The question's been called and seconded. Mr. Thompson, you will record the vote.
Franklin, do something. Think.
I am thinking. Nothing's coming.
All those in favor of the resolution on independence as proposed by the colony of Virginia signify by saying...
Mr. Secretary, would you read the resolution again? I've forgotten it.
Resolved, these united colonies are, and of a right ought to be, free and independent states. That
Beg your pardon. I am the Reverend John Witherspoon, the new delegate from New Jersey. Hello. 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 Where do I sit? There. I'll find it. Dr. Franklin. Well, I regret I must be the bearer of unhappy tidings, but your son, the royal governor of New Jersey, has been taken prisoner and has been moved under guard to the colony of Connecticut for safekeeping.
Is he unarmed, sir?
Well, when last I heard, he was, yes, sir.
Then why the long face? I hear Connecticut's an excellent location. Tell me, why'd they arrest the little bastard?
Our New Jersey legislators have recalled the old delegation to this Congress and has sent a new one.
Well, quickly, man, where do you stand on independence?
Haven't I made that clear?
No.
No, I suppose I haven't, but that's the reason for the change. We've been instructed to vote for independence.
President, Massachusetts is now ready for the vote on independence and reminds the chair of its ability to decide all votes that are deadlocked.
I won't forget, Mr. Adams. The chair would like to welcome the Reverend Witherspoon and appoint him congressional chaplain if he will accept the post.
With much pleasure, sir.
Very well, Mr. Thompson, you may now proceed with the vote on independence.
All in favor of the resolution on independence as proposed by the colony of Virginia signify by saying...
Mr. President, Pennsylvania moves that any vote in favor of independence must be unanimous.
What? I second the motion.
Judge Wilson.
Oh my God. Delaware seconds, Mr. President. No votes ever had to be unanimous, Dickinson, and you know it.
Yes, but this one must be.
On what ground?
That no colony be torn from its mother country without its own consent.
Here. But it'll never be unanimous, damn it!
If you say so, Mr. Adams.
It has been moved and seconded that the vote on independence must be unanimous in order to carry. All those in favor signify by saying yay.
Yay.
Yay. 6 colonies say yay. All those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
6 colonies say nay.
Mr. President, New York abstains. Courteously.
Mr. Morris, why does New York consistently abstain? Why doesn't New York simply stay in New York? Very well, the vote is tied. The principles of independence have no greater advocate in Congress than its president, and that is why I must join those who vote for unanimity.
John, what are you doing, John? You've sunk us.
Hear me out. Don't you see that any colony who opposes independence will be forced to fight on the side of England? That will be setting brother against brother? Our new nation will carry as its emblem the mark of Cain. I can see no other way. Either we must walk together, or together we must stay where we are.
He's from Massachusetts.
Very well. Proceed, Mr. Thompson.
A unanimous vote being necessary to carry if any be opposed to the resolution on independence as proposed by the colony of Virginia signify by saying...
Mr. President.
For heaven's sakes, let me get through it once.
I move for postponement.
Postponement? Ha! I wish you the same luck I had with it.
Mr. Adams is right. We need a postponement.
On what grounds?
independence without some sort of, written declaration defining it.
What sort of declaration?
A listing of all our reasons for separation and our goals and aims and so on and so forth, etc., etc.
Ditto, ditto.
Ditto, ditto.
We know those, don't we?
Oh, yes, we know them, but what about the rest of the world? Certainly we require the aid of powerful nations such as France and Spain, and such a declaration would be consistent with European delegates.
Come now, Mr. Adams, you can do better than that. Answer straight, what would be its purpose?
To place before mankind the common sense of the subject, in terms so plain and firm as to command their assent.
Mr. Jefferson, are you seriously suggesting that we publish a paper to the whole world saying that an illegal rebellion is in reality a legal one?
Why, Mr. Dickinson, I am surprised at you. You should always know that rebellion is always legal in the first person, such as our rebellion. It is only in the third person, their rebellion, that it is illegal. Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, I second the motion to postpone the vote on independence for a period of time sufficient for the writing of a declaration.
Motion has been moved and seconded. Mr. Thompson?
All those in favor of the motion to postpone signify by saying yay.
Yay.
6 colonies say yay. Against?
Yay.
6 colonies say nay.
Mr. Morris, what the hell goes on in New York?
Sorry, Mr. President. The simple fact is that our legislature has never sent us any explicit instructions on anything.
Never? That's impossible.
Have you ever been to a meeting of New York legislature? They speak very fast and very loud, and nobody pays any attention to anybody else in the simple fact that nothing ever gets done. I beg the Congress to pardon.
Sympathies, Mr. Morris. The vote again being tied, the chair decides in favor of the postponement. So ruled. A committee will now be formed to manage the declaration, said document to be written, debated, and approved by the beginning of July, 3 weeks hence, at which time Virginia's resolution on independence will finally be voted. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Very well. Will the following gentlemen serve in the Declaration Committee? Dr. Franklin? Mr. John Adams? Mr. Sherman? Mr. Livingston? And of course, Mr. Lee.
Excuse me, Mr. President, but I must be returning to the colony of Virginia, where I've been asked to serve as governor. Therefore, I must decline. Respectfully, Lee.
Very well, Mr. Lee, you're excused. I suppose we could leave it a four-man committee.
Just a moment, Mr. President. This business needs a Virginian. I propose a replacement. Mr. Thomas Jefferson.
No, Mr. Adams, no.
Very well, Mr. Adams. Mr. Jefferson will serve.
I am going home too, to my wife.
Move to adjourn.
No, wait.
Second.
It's been 6
Move and second. Any objections?
Yes, I have objected.
So ruled. Congress stands adjourned.
All right, gentlemen, let's get on with it. Which of us is going to write our Declaration of Independence?
Mr. Adams, I say you should write it. To your legal mind and brilliance we defer.
Is that so? Well then, if I'm the one to do it, they'll run their quill pens through it. I'm obnoxious and a slight, you know that's so.
Yes, I know.
Then I say you should write it, Franklin. Yes, you.
Hell no.
Yes, you, Dr. Franklin. You, but you, but you.
Mr. Adams, but Mr. Adams, the things I write are only extemporanea. I won't put politics on paper, it's a mania. So I refuse to use the pen in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, refuse to use the pen.
Mr. Sherman, maybe you should write it. You are never controversial, as it were.
That is true.
Whereas if I'm the one to do it, they'll run their quill pens through it. I'm obnoxious and disliked, you know that's so.
Yes, I do.
Then I say you should write it, Roger. Yes, you.
Good heavens, no.
Yes, you, Roger Sherman.
Mr. Adams, Mr. Adams, I cannot write with any style or proper etiquette. I do not know a preposition from a predicate. I am just a simple cobbler from Connecticut. Connecticut, Connecticut, a simple cobbler here.
Mr. Livingston, maybe you should write it. You have many friends and you're a diplomat.
Oh, that word.
Whereas if I'm the one to do it, they'll run that Wilkins through it. He's obnoxious and disliked. Did you know that?
I hadn't heard.
Then I say you should write it, Robert. Yes, you.
Not me, Johnny.
Yes, you, Robert Livingston. You, what, you, what, you.
Mr. Adams, dear Mr. Adams, I've been presented with a new song by the noble stork. So I am going home to celebrate and pop a cork with all the Livingstons together back in old New York. New York, New York,
Livingston's going to pop a cork. Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. Adams, leave me alone.
Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. Adams, I beg you. It's been 6 months since I've seen my wife.
You write 10 times better than any man in Congress, including myself. You have a happy talent for composition and a remarkable felicity of expression. Now, will you be a patriot or a lover?
A lover.
No!
But I'm gone, Mr. A.
So do I, Mr. J.
You.
You do?
John.
Who'd have thought? Mr. Jefferson, dear Mr. Jefferson, I'm only 41, I still have my virility. And I can romp through Cupid's grove with great agility. But life is more than sexual combustibility. Bustability, bustability. Jefferson. Quiet! Now you were writing, Mr. J.
And who will make me Mr. A?
Ah.
You?
Yes.
How?
By physical force, if necessary. It's your duty. It's your duty, damn it!
Mr. Adams. Damn you, Mr. Adams. You're obnoxious and disliked, that cannot be denied. Once again, you stand between me and my lovely bride. Oh, Mr. Adams, you are driving me to homicide.
Jefferson.
Homicide. Jeff, homicide.
Quiet! Here's the pen, Mr. J. Do
Jefferson! All right, Jefferson. You've had a whole week. Now, let's see. Well, have you written it yet? Can I see it? There comes a time in the lives of men when it becomes necessary to... This is terrible. Where's the rest of it? Do you mean to say that it is not yet written?
No. I mean to say it's not yet begun.
Good God! A whole week! The entire Earth was created in a week.
Someday, you must tell me how you did it.
Disgusting. Look at him, Franklin. Virginia's most famous lover.
Virginia's most famous lover abstains.
Cheer up, Jefferson. It'll all work out, I promise you. Now, in the meantime, get back to work. Franklin, tell him to get back to work.
Franklin is asleep.
Wake up, Franklin.
You and you. And whose little girl are you? John, who is she?
His wife, I hope.
What makes you think so?
Well, because I sent for her.
You what?
Well, it occurred to me that the sooner his problems were solved, the sooner our problems would be solved.
Good thinking, John. Good thinking.
Madam, may I present myself? Mr. John Adams. Adams? John Adams? And Dr. Franklin? Inventor of the stove? Jefferson, kindly introduce me to your wife. She is your wife, isn't she?
Of course she is. Look how they fit. Come along, John, come along.
But there's work to be done.
Obviously.
Do you mean to say that they're going to, in the middle of the afternoon?
Not everybody's from Boston, John.
Incredible.
Well, good night, John.
Franklin, have you eaten yet?
Not yet.
Oh, well, I hear the turkey's fresh at the bunch of grapes.
John, I have a rendezvous. I'd asked you to come along, but talking makes her nervous.
Oh, Abigail. I'm lonely, Abigail.
Are you, John? Then as long as you were sending for wives, why didn't you send for your own?
Oh, don't be unreasonable, Abigail.
Now I'm unreasonable. You must add that to your list.
List, madam? What list?
The catalog of my faults you included in your last letter.
Fondly intended, madam.
That I play at cards badly.
A compliment.
That my posture is crooked.
An endearment.
Let's see, that I read, write, and think too much.
An irony.
That I'm pigeon-toed.
afraid you have me there, Abby. You are pigeon-toed. Come to Philadelphia, Abigail.
You know I do want to, but it's not possible now. The children have the measles.
Yes, so you wrote. Tom and little Abby.
Only now it's Quincy and Charles. And it appears the farm here in Braintree is failing, John. The chickens and the geese have all died, and the apples never survived the late frost. How do you suppose she managed to get away?
The winters are softer in Virginia.
And their women, John?
Fit for Virginians, madam, but pale, puny things aside New England girls.
John, I thank you for that.
How goes it with you, Abby?
Not well, John. Not well at all. I live like a nun in a cloister, solitary celibate. I hate it. And you, John?
I live like a monk in an abbey. Ditto, ditto. I hate it.
Write to me with sentimental effusion. Let me revel in romantic illusion.
Do you still smell of vanilla and spring air? And is my favorite lover's pillow still firm and fair?
What was there, John, still is there, John. Come soon as you can to my cloister. I've forgotten the feel of your hand.
Madam, soon we will run through Cupid's grove together, and we'll fondly survey that promised land. Till then, I am as I ever was and ever shall be. Yours, 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 yours.
Saltpeter, John.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Sorry to be late. I was up till all hours. Have you been here long?
Not long.
And what are you doing down here? I had expected you to be up there cracking the whip.
Well, the shutters are still closed.
My word, so they are. Well, as the French say,
Oh, spare me your bawdy mind this early in the morning. Dare we call?
a congressman dares anything. Go ahead.
Me?
Your voice is more piercing.
Perhaps we should come back another time.
What?
Well, it's positively indecent.
Oh, John, they're young and they're in love.
Not them, Franklin, you and me! Standing out here waiting for them to... You know, what will people think?
Don't worry, John. The history books will clean it up.
Well, it doesn't matter anyway. I won't be in the history books. just you. Franklin did this, Franklin did that, Franklin did some other damn thing. Franklin smoked the ground and out popped George Washington, fully grown and on his horse. And then he miraculously electrified him with his lightning rod. And then the three of them, Franklin, Washington, and the horse, conducted the entire revolution all by themselves.
I like it.
Would.
Look at her, John. Just look at her. She's even more magnificent than I remember. Of course, we didn't see much of her front last evening. Good morrow, madam.
Morrow, madam.
Is it a habit in Philadelphia for strangers to shout out ladies from the streets?
Not at all, madam. But we're not.
And for men of your age, it's not only unseemly, it's unsightly.
I can assure you, madam, we spoke last evening.
I spoke to no one last evening.
Indeed you did not, madam, but nevertheless we presented ourselves. This is Mr. John Adams, and I am Dr. Franklin. Inventor of the stove.
Oh, please, I know your names very well, but you say you presented yourselves?
It's of no matter, madam. Your thoughts were very well taken elsewhere.
My husband is not yet up.
Shall we start over, madam? Please join us.
Yes, of course.
No wonder the man couldn't write. Who could possibly think of independence married to her?
I beg you to forgive me. It is indeed an honor meeting the two greatest men in America.
The two greatest within earshots, anyway.
I am not an idle flatterer, Dr. Franklin. My husband admires you both greatly.
And we are doubly flattered. We admire very much that which your husband admires.
Tell me, madam, did you sleep well last evening? What I meant to say was, did you lie comfortably? Well, damn, you know what I mean.
Yes, John, we do. Tell us about yourself, madam. We've had precious little information. What is your first name?
Martha.
Ah, Martha. You would expect him to have at least told us that. I'm afraid your husband doesn't say very much.
He's the most silent man in Congress. I've never heard him utter more than 3 sentences together.
But not everybody's a talker, John.
It's true, you know. Tom is not a talker. Oh, he never speaks his passions, he never speaks his views. Whereas other men speak volumes, the man I love is mute. In truth, I can recall being wooed with words at all. Even
Go on, madam.
Yes, Martha. How did Tom win you, and how does he hold on to a bounty such as you?
well, surely you've noticed that Tom is a man of many accomplishments. Author, lawyer, farmer, architect, statesman, and still one more that I hesitate to mention.
Well, don't hesitate, madam. Don't hesitate.
Yes, what else can that red-headed tombstone do?
He plays the violin. He tucks it right under his chin. And he bows, oh, he bows, for he knows, yes, he knows, that it's high, 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 diddle, diddle, twixt my heart, Tom and his fiddle, my strings are unstrung. High, 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 high. I am undone. betwixt my heart, Tom and his fiddle, and ever 'twill be. Through eternity.
He plays the violin.
Look, Franklin, he's done it. He's written it. He's written something. Dear Mr. Adams, I'm going back to visit with my wife. Kindly go away, your obedient T. Jefferson. Incredible.
Perhaps I'm the one who should have written the Declaration after all. At my age, there is little doubt that the pen is mightier than the sword. For it was high, 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 diddle, diddle, and God bless the man who can fiddle.
And independency. Through eternity, the violin, the violin.
And what follows is a complete and up-to-date list of committees of this Congress now sitting, about to sit, or just having sat. A committee formed to investigate a complaint made against the quality of yeast being manufactured at Mr. Henry Pendleton's mill, designated as the Yeast Committee. A committee formed to consider the most effective method of dealing with spies, called the Spies Committee. A committee formed to think, perhaps to do, but in any case to gather, to meet, to confer, to talk, and perhaps to even resolve that each rifle regiment be allowed at least one drum and one fife attached to each company, designated as the Drum and Fife Committee. A committee formed to...
Look at it, Doctor, just look at it. Democracy. What Plato called a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder. I never knew Plato had been to Philadelphia.
McNabb, open that damn window.
Ben, I want to see some cards I've gone and had to print up. Ought to save everybody here a whole lot of time and effort, considering the epidemic of bad disposition's been going around here lately. Dear sir, you are without any doubt a rogue, a rascal, a villain, a thief, a scoundrel, and a mean, dirty, stinking, sniveling, sneaking, pimping, pocket-picking, thrice double-damned, no-good son of a bitch. Then you sign your name. What do you think?
Stephen, I'll take a dozen right now.
A committee formed to answer all congressional correspondence, designated as the Congressional Correspondence Committee.
All right, Franklin, let's get to it.
Good morning, John.
Good morning.
Let's get to what?
Unanimity, of course. We have 6 days to win over in less than a week.
A committee formed to consider the problem of counterfeit money, designated as the Counterfeit Money Committee.
All right, John. Where shall we start?
How about Delaware? It's a sad thing to see her on the wrong side after all this time. Have you heard anything about Caesar Rodney?
Kane is back.
Oh, Thomas.
A committee formed to study the causes of our military defeat in Canada, designated as the Military Defeat Committee.
How is Caesar? Is he still alive?
Aye, he is. But the journey to Dover was fearful hard on him. He never complained, but I could see the poor man was suffering.
But you got him safely home.
I did, but I doubt he'll ever set foot out of it again.
That leaves you and Reed split down the middle. Will he come over?
I don't know. He's a stubborn little snot.
Well, just keep talking to him.
John, face facts, would you? If it was just Reed standing in our way, it wouldn't be so bad. But look for yourself, man. Maryland, Pennsylvania, the entire South. It's impossible.
It's impossible if we stand around here complaining about it the whole time. To work, McKean, one foot in front of the other.
I believe I put it a better way. Never leave off till tomorrow. That which you can do to
Oh, shut up, Franklin.
But what good will it do? You know Dickinson, he'll never give in. And you haven't heard the past a flaunt legit either.
Your job is George Reed. Talk him deaf if you have to, but bring us back Delaware.
There's a simple way. This'll break the tire.
All right, John.
Where to next?
A committee formed to keep secrets, designated as the Secrets Committee.
Pennsylvania and Maryland. I suggest you put your own house back in order while I take a crack at old Bacon Face. Look at him stuff himself.
Mr. Adams, no longer meeting. Mr. Wilson, the time has come for you to assert yourself. When you were a judge, how in the hell did you ever make a decision?
All the decisions I made were based on legality and precedence. But there's no legality here, and certainly no precedence.
Because it's a new idea, you clot. We'd be setting our own precedents.
No, Mr. McKinney. No, no, no.
Damn your eyes, Reed. You came into this world screaming no, and you're determined to leave it the same way.
Come on, Chase. America's waiting. Independence is waiting. The whole world is waiting. What is that, kidney?
Stop that. Mr. Adams, you're wasting your time. If I thought that we could win this war, I'd be at the front of your ranks, but you must know that it is impossible. You've heard General Washington's dispatches. The army is falling apart.
General Washington is exaggerating the situation in order to arouse this torpid Congress into action. Why, as chairman of the War Committee, I can tell you for a fact that never has the army been in better shape. Never have soldiers been more cheerful. Never have troops been more resolute. Never have discipline and training been more spirited. Never! Good God!
Here we have your ears, gentlemen. Mr. Thompson has dispatch.
From the Commander, Army of the United Colonies of New York, dispatch number 1157. To the Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President. Dear Sir, it is with the utmost despair that I must report to you the confusion and disorder that reign in every department.
Sweet Jesus.
The Continental soldier is as nothing ever seen in this or any other century. He is a misfit, ignorant of hygiene, destructive, disorderly, and totally disrespectful of rank. Only this last is understandable, as there is an incredible reek of stupidity amongst the officers. The situation is most desperate at the New Jersey training ground in New Brunswick, where every able-bodied whore in the colonies is assembled. There are constant reports of drunkenness, desertion, foul language, naked bathing in the Raritan River, and an epidemic of the French disease. I have declared the town off limits to all military personnel, with the exception of officers. I beseech the Congress to dispatch the War Committee to this place in hope of restoring some of the order and discipline we need to survive. Your obedient, G. Washington.
That man would depress a hyena.
Well, Mr. Adams, you're chairman of the War Committee. Do you feel up to whoring, drinking, deserting New Brunswick?
But there must be some mistake. I have an aunt who lives in New Brunswick.
You must tell her to keep up the good work. Come now, Mr. Adams. You must see that it's hopeless. Let us recall General Washington and disband the Continental Army before we are overwhelmed.
The English would like that, wouldn't they?
Why don't you ask them yourself? They have to be here any minute.
You wasn't hanging, Mr. Adams. I hope you'll put in a good word for the rest of us.
Mr. Adams, we need to face facts. How can a handful of drunken, disorderly recruits fight the British Army? They're the finest musketmen on earth. How can we win? How can we even hope to survive?
Answer me straight, Chase. If you thought we could defeat the Redcoats, would Maryland say yay to independence?
Well, I suppose that...
No supposing. Would you or wouldn't you?
Very well, yes, we would.
Well, then come with me to New Brunswick and see for yourself.
Are you mad?
You heard what Washington said. It's a shambles up there. They're putting you into it, Johnny.
What do you say, Chase?
Go ahead, Sam. It sounds lively as hell up there.
All right, I will. It'll be John Adams who comes to his senses.
Mr. President, the War Committee will heed General Washington's request, and a party consisting of Mr. Chase, myself, and Dr. Franklin
We'll travel immediately to New Brunswick.
Is that satisfactory with you, Dr. Franklin?
My God, Franklin, you're going to New Brunswick.
Like hell I am. What for?
The whoring and the drinking.
All right, Chase, move that lawn of yours. Left, right, left, right.
All this talk of independence has left a certain foulness in the air. Mr. McNair, my friends and I would appreciate it if you could open up some windows.
Well, what about the flies?
The windows, Mr. McNair.
Open the windows, close the windows. Sweet Jesus! Oh, say, do you see what I see? Congress sitting here in sweet serenity. I could cheer, the reason's clear. For the first time in a year, Adams is near. I look, the sun is in the sky, the breeze is blowing by, and there's not a single fly. Come sing Hosanna, 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 and it's cool. Come ye cool, conservative men, our like may never ever be seen again. We have land, cash in hand, self-command, future planned. Fortune thrives, society survives, and lead the ordered lives with well-endowed wives. Come sing Hosanna, Hosanna, in our greeting and our honor, we are cool. Come ye cool, consider it sense. We'll dance together to the same minuet. To the right, seven to the right, never to the left, forever to the right. Let our creed be never to exceed regulated speed, no matter what the need. Sing Hosanna, Hosanna, emblazoned on our banner is Cape Cool. To the right, ever to the right, never to the left, forever to the right. Hands attached, tightly latched, everybody march.
I have a new dispatch. From the Commander, Army of the United Colonies of New York, dispatch number 1158. The Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President, dear sir. I woke this morning to find that General Howe has landed 25,000 British regulars and Hessian mercenaries on Staten Island, and that the fleet under the command of his brother Admiral Lord Howe commands not only the Hudson and East Rivers, but New York Harbor, which now looks like all of London afloat. I can no longer in good conscience withhold from the Congress my certainty that the British military object at this time is Philadelphia. Happy should I be if I could see the means of preventing them, but at present I confess I do not. Oh, how I wish I had never seen the Continental Army. I would have done better to retire to the back country and live in a wigwam. Your obedient, G. Washington.
What if we do rationally? We never ever go off half-cocked, not we. Why begin so we know that we can win? And if we cannot win, why bother to begin?
We say this game is not of our choosing. Why should we risk losing?
Mr. Hancock, you're a man of property. One of us. Why don't you join us in our minuet? Why do you persist in dancing with Mr. Adams? Good Lord, sir, you don't even like him.
That's true. He annoys me quite a lot. But still, I'd rather trot. So Mr. Adams doing a lot.
But why? For personal glory? For a place in history? Be careful, sir. Mr. Grant and his followers as traitors.
Yes, what, Mr. Dickinson? The British crown or the British empire? Fortunately, it's not up in a property to American and dictate policy.
Perhaps not. But don't forget, most men are nothing, but they protect the possibility of immigration. Raise the hell of people. That is why they will follow us. To the right, never to the right, never to the left, forever to the right. When there's fall, there's a market on the wall. Tradition that is old, reluctant to be bold. I sing Hosanna, Hosanna, in a sane and lucid manner. We are cool. We're the cool, conservative men whose like may never be seen again. We have learned captain of self-command, future plan, and we'll hold to our goal. Tradition that is old, reluctant to be bold. We say this game's not of our choosing. Why should we risk losing? Hey, cool, 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 cool,
Sweet Jesus. How'd you like to try and borrow $1 from one of them? One of the rum general.
General, Lord, I need a corporal.
Yeah, well, what's the army now, huh? Sit down, gentlemen. Chair rules is too damn hot to work. What's it like out there, General?
Well, you probably know more than me.
Sitting in here, sweet Jesus. This is the last place to find out what's going on.
I mean when they join up.
What are you talking about? You don't have to join up. You're in the Congress.
What's that got to do with it?
Well, you don't see them rushing off to get killed, do you? They sure are great for sending others, I'll tell you that.
Who sits here?
Oh, that's Caesar I named Delaware. Where are you from, General?
Watertown.
Where's that?
Massachusetts.
Well then, you belong down there. But be careful. There's something about that chair that makes a man awful noisy.
You see any fighting?
I sure did. I seen my two best friends get shot dead the very same day. Around the village green it was, too. And when they didn't come home for supper, the mamas went down the hill looking for them. Ms. Lowell, she found Timothy right off. But Miss Pickett, she looked near half the night for Willem, 'cause he hadn't gone and crawled off the green before he died. Mama, hey mama, come looking for me. I'm here in the meadow by the red maple tree. Mama, hey mama, look sharp, here I be. Hey, hey, mama, look sharp. Them soldiers, they fired, oh ma, did we run? But then we turned round and the battle begun. Then I went under, oh ma, am I done?
eyes are wide open, my face to the sky. Is that you I'm hearing in the tall grass nearby? Mama, come find me before I do die. Hey, hey, Mama, look sharp. I'll close your eyes, my Billy. They're eyes that cannot see, and I'll bury you, my Billy, beneath the maple tree. And never again will you whisper to me, hey, hey, oh mama, look sharp.
The Secretary will now read the report of the Declaration Committee. Mr. Thompson.
A declaration by the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for a people to advance from that subordination in which they have hitherto remained, and to assume among the powers of the earth the equal and independent station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to change. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and independent, that from that equal creation they derive in rights inherent and inalienables, among which are the preservation of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness.
Jefferson, we've got Chase and we've got Maryland.
They're reading
That is, we will as soon as he gets back from the Maryland Assembly.
He's in Annapolis right now describing a ragtag collection of provincial militiamen who couldn't train together, march together, or drill together. But when a flock of ducks flew by and they saw their first full dinner in 3 weeks, sweet Jesus, could they shoot together. It was a slaughter.
They're reading the Declaration.
Well, how far have they gone?
To render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
Independent of and superior to.
He's good. Now, don't worry about it, Jefferson. It's a masterpiece. A masterpiece, I say. And I should be congratulated.
You?
For making him write it.
Ah, yes, of course.
It's a masterpiece, I say. They'll cheer every word, every letter.
I wish I felt that way. I believe I can put it better. Now attend as friend to friend our declaration committee. For us I see immortality in Philadelphia city. A farmer, a lawyer, and a sage. A big gouty in the leg. You know it's quite bizarre to think that here we are, playing midwives to an egg.
Egg? What egg?
America, the birth of a new nation.
If only we could be sure of what type of bird it is going to be.
Tom's got a point. What sort of bird shall we choose as the symbol of our new America?
The eagle.
The dove.
The turkey.
The eagle.
The dove.
The eagle.
Are you serious?
The eagle.
The turkey. What?
The eagle's a majestic bird.
Eagle's a scavenger, a thief, and a coward. And a symbol of more than 10 centuries of European mischief.
And the turkey?
A truly noble bird. A native to America, and a source of substance for our settlers. And incredibly brave for them who would not flinch from attacking an entire regime of Englishmen single-handedly. Therefore, the national bird of America is going to be
the eagle.
The eagle.
We're waiting for the chirp,
chirp, chirp of an eaglet being born. Waiting for the chirp, chirp, chirp on this humid Monday morning in this congressional incubator. God knows the temperature's hot enough to hatch a stone, let alone an egg.
We're waiting for the scratch,
scratch, scratch of the tiny little fellow, waiting for the egg to hatch on this humid Monday morning in this congressional incubator.
God knows the temperature's hot enough to hatch a stone.
But will it hatch an egg?
Don't worry about it. It's going to be a triumph. A triumph, I tell you. Never have I been so sure of anything in my entire life. And if it isn't, we still have 4 days to decide something else. The eagle's going to crack the shell of the egg that England laid.
Yes, so we can tell on this humid Monday morning in this congressional incubator. And just as Tom here has written, though the shell may belong to Great Britain, the eagle inside belongs to us. And just as Tom here has written, we'll say to hell with Great Britain, the eagle inside belongs to us.
And that as free and independent states they shall hereafter have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all the other acts and things which independent states may have a right to do. And for the support of this declaration, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. The Congress has heard the report of the Declaration Committee. Are there any who wish to offer alterations, deletions, or amendments to the Declaration?
Mr. President.
Gentlemen, please. There, you'd better open a window. Colonel McKean, I saw your hand first.
Tom, it's a bony big paper you've written, but somewhere you've mentioned Scottish and foreign mercenaries sent to destroy us. Scottish, Tom.
It's in regards to the Highland regiment that stood against us at Boston.
Oh, that was more likely Germans wearing kilts to disguise their being there. I'll ask you to remove the word and avoid giving offense to a good people.
Mr. Jefferson.
Mr. President. Reverend Witherspoon.
Mr. Jefferson, nowhere do you mention the Supreme Being. Certainly this was an oversight, for how could we achieve a victory without his help? Therefore, I must humbly suggest the following addition to your final sentence, with a firm alliance on the protection of divine providence.
Mr. Reed.
Mr. Jefferson, amongst your charges against the king, you accuse him of depriving us of the right of trial by jury. This is not true, sir, for in Delaware, we have always had trial by jury.
In Massachusetts, we have not.
Oh, I suggest the words, in many cases, be added.
Mr. Jefferson.
In many cases. Oh, brilliant. I suppose every time you see those three little words, your puny little chest will swell up with pride over your great historical contribution.
It's more memorable than your unprincipled whitewash of that race of barbarians.
Barbarians?
Mr. Reed, Colonel McKean, that's enough! Mr. Hopkins?
No objections, Johnny. I'm just trying to get a drink.
Should have known McNair, get him a rum. Mr. Bartlett.
Mr. Jefferson, I beg you to remember we still have friends in England. I see no use in antagonizing them with such phrases as unfeeling brethren and enemy in war. Our quarrels with the British king, not the British people.
Bartlett, remove that passage and the entire paragraph becomes meaningless. And it just so happens it's one of the most stirring and poetic in the entire document.
Mr. Adams, we're a Congress, not a literary society. I ask that the entire paragraph be stricken.
Mr. Jefferson.
Good God, Jefferson, when are you going to stand up for your own work?
I hope the work would stand for itself.
Mr. Hancock.
What is it, McNair?
I can't say I'm very fond of the United States of America as a name for a new country.
I don't care what you're fond of, McNair. You're not a member of this Congress. Mr. Sherman.
Brother Jefferson, I noted at least 2 distinct references to the British Parliamentary Declaration. Do you think it wise to alienate such an august body in light of our contention that they have no direct authority over us anyway?
This is a revolution, damn it. We're going to have to offend somebody.
John, we'll have an attack that, Alexi, if you're not careful.
Well, have you heard what they're doing to it? Have you heard?
Yes, I've heard.
And so far, it's just our friends. Can you imagine what our enemies will do?
The word parliament will be removed wherever it occurs.
They won't be satisfied until they remove one of the F's from Jefferson's name.
Courage, John. It won't last much longer.
Mr. President. Mr. Dickinson.
Mr. Jefferson, I have very little interest in your paper, as there's no doubt in my mind that we've all read the last of it. But I am curious about one thing. Why do you refer to King George as a tyrant?
Because, Mr. Dickinson, the king is a tyrant.
How so? Or I might that tyrant is still your king.
When a king becomes a tyrant, he thereby breaks a contract binding his subjects to him.
How so?
By taking away the rights.
Rights that give him in the first place.
All except one. The right to be free comes from nature.
Mr. Wilson, do we in Pennsylvania consider King George to be a tyrant?
Well, I don't know. No, he's not a tyrant. In Pennsylvania.
There you are, Mr. Jefferson. Your declaration does not speak for us all. I demand the word tyrant be removed.
Mr. Thompson, I do not consent. The king is a tyrant, whether we say so or not. We might as well say so.
But I already scratched it out.
Then scratch it back in.
Put it back, Mr. Thompson. The king will remain a tyrant.
You mentioned the important matter of deep-sea fishing rafts.
Deep-sea fishing rafts. How long is this piddling going to go on? We've been here for 3 full days, and we've endured, by my count, 80 separate changes, and the removal of close to 400 words, which are whipping and beaten until you break its spirit. That document there is a masterful expression of the American mind, I tell you.
If there are no more changes, then I can assume the report of the Declaration
Just a moment,
Committee.
Mr. President.
Look out. Oh, God.
I wonder if we could prevail upon Mr. Thompson to read again a small portion of Mr. Jefferson's declaration. The one beginning, he has waged cruel war.
He has affected, he has combined, he has abdicated, he has plundered, he has constrained, he has excited, he has incited. There it is. He has waged cruel war against human nature itself, violating its most sacred rights of life and liberty in the persons of a distant people who never offended him, captivating and carrying them into slavery in another hemisphere, determined to keep open a market where men should be bought and sold. He has prostituted.
That was right, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. Mr. Jefferson, I can't quite make out what it is you're talking about.
Slavery, Mr. Rutledge.
Slavery. So you refer to us as slaves of the king, then?
No. I'm referring to our slaves. Our black slaves.
Black slaves? Why did you say so, sir? We were trying to hide your meaning.
No, sir.
Just another literary license, then. If you like. I don't like it all, Mr. Jefferson. To us in South Carolina, black slavery is a cherished institution in our way of life.
Nevertheless, we must abolish it. Nothing is more certainly written in the Book of Fate than that this people shall be free.
I'm not concerned with the Book of Fate right now, sir. I'm more concerned with what's written in your little paper there.
That little paper there deals with freedom for all Americans.
Oh, really now? Now Mr. Adams is calling our black slaves Americans. Are they now?
Well, they're people and they're here. If there's any other requirement, I've never heard of it.
They are here, yes, but they are not people, sir. They are property.
No, sir! I tell you, the rights of human nature are deeply rooted by this infamous practice.
Then see to your own wounds, Mr. Jefferson. For you are a practitioner, are you not?
I have already resolved to release my slaves.
Then I'm sorry, for you've also resolved the ruination of your personal economy.
Oh, economy, economy, always economy. There's more to this than a filthy purse string, Rutledge. It's an offense against man and God.
It's a business, Mr. Rutledge. A stinking business.
Is it really, Mr. Hopkins? The ones that I smell floating down from the north. Could it be the aroma of hypocrisy? For who holds the other end of that filthy purse string, Mr. Adams? Our northern brethren are feeling a bit tender toward our slaves. They don't keep slaves, no, but they are willing to be considerable carriers of slaves. To others, they are willing for the shilling. Or haven't you heard, Mr. Adams? Clink, clink.
Molasses to rum to slaves. Oh, what a beautiful waltz. You dance with us, we dance with you in molasses and rum and slaves. Who sails the ships out of Boston, laden with Bibles and rum? Who drinks toast to the Ivory Coast, held Africa the slavers have gone? New England with Bibles and rum. Then it's off with the rum and the Bibles. Take on the slaves, clink, clink. Then it's hail and farewell to the smell of the African coast. Molasses to rum, to slaves. 'Tisn't morals, 'tis money that saves. Shall we dance to the sound of the profitable pound in molasses and rum and slaves? Who sails the ships out of Guinea, laden with Bibles and slaves? 'Tis Boston can boast to the west and east coast. Jamaica, we brought what ye crave. Antigua, Barbados, we run Bibles as slaves.
Gentlemen, you must think our northern friends see our black slaves as figures on a ledger. Oh no, sir. They see them as figures on a block. Notice the faces at the auctions, gentlemen. White faces on the African wharves. Put them in the ships. Cram them in the ships. Stuff them in the ships. Hurry, gentlemen. Let the auction begin. Yo-ho, yo-ho, yo-ho. Hear that, gentlemen? That's the cry of the auctioneer. Yo-ho, yo-ho, yo-ho. Black gold, living gold, gold. Yo-ho, yo-ho, yo.
For the love of God, Rutledge, please!
Molasses to rum to slaves. Who sails the ships back to Boston?
toast. Hail Boston. Hail Charleston. Who stinketh?
Mr. Hughes? Dr. Hall?
John, don't worry. They'll be back.
Aye. Vote us down.
I have it. Franklin, Adams, I have it. And the Maryland Assembly has approved it. I told them one of the greatest military. What's wrong? I thought that...
You'll have to forgive them, Mr. Chase. They've just suffered a slight setback. And after all, what has a man profited if he shall gain Maryland and lose the entire South? Matthew chapter 16, verse 26.
I know the flies.
No, I'll run.
What are you all just doing sitting around here? Come on, there's work to be done. Thomas, I want you to ride down back into Delaware and fetch back Caesar Rodney.
John, are you mad? It's 80 miles on horseback, and he's a dying man.
No, he's a patriot.
John, what it will do? The South stung us in.
And say they change their minds. Can we really win without Delaware?
God, what a bastardly bunch we are.
Stephen?
Johnny, I'll be in the tavern. Is there anything I can do for you there? Let me know.
Mr. Bartlett?
What's the use, John? What's tomorrow morning?
Mr. Chase?
There's less than one full day left.
Mr. Sherman?
Face facts, John. It's finished.
I'm sorry, John.
Franklin? Jefferson?
We've no other choice, John. The slavery clause must go.
What are you saying, man?
It's a luxury we can't afford.
10,000 souls in chains, and Dr. Franklin calls it a luxury.
You forget yourself, sir. I have founded the first anti-slavery society on this continent.
Don't you wave your credentials at me. Perhaps it's time you renewed them.
The issue here is independence. Maybe you've lost sight of that fact, but I have not. How dare you jeopardize our cause when we have come so far? These men, no matter how much we disagree with them, are not ribbon clerks to be ordered about. They are proud, accomplished men, the cream of their colonies. And whether you like it or not, they and the people they represent will be part of a new nation you'd hope to create. Now either start learning to live with it, or pack up and go home. But in any case, stop acting like a Boston fishwife.
What have I come to? John Adams. The great John Adams. The wise man of the East. What has happened to me? My farm mortgaged to the hilt. My law practice down the pipe. And at a stage in my life when other men prosper, I'm reduced to living in Philadelphia. Philadelphia! Oh, Abigail, what am I going to do?
Do, John.
I need your help, Abigail.
You don't usually ask for my advice.
Yes, but there doesn't seem to be anybody else right now.
Very well, John. What is it?
The entire South has walked out of this Congress, General Washington is on the verge of total annihilation. The precious cause for which I've labored for these several years has been reduced to nothing. And it seems I'm obnoxious and disliked.
Nonsense, John.
That I'm unwilling to face reality.
Foolishness, John.
That I'm pig-headed.
Well, you have me there, John. I'm afraid you are pig-headed.
How goes it with you, Abby? Lord knows I haven't given you much.
I never asked for more. After all, being Mrs. John Adams is quite a lot for one lifetime.
Is it, Abby?
Think of it, John. To be married to the man who's always first in line to be hanged.
Yes, the agitator. Why, Abby? You must tell me what it is. I've always been dissatisfied, I know that, but lately I feel I reek of discontentment. It fills my throat and floods my brain, and sometimes I fear there isn't a dream anymore, only the discontentment.
Oh, John, can you really know so little about yourself? And can you think so little of me that you'd actually believe I'd married the man you described? Have you forgotten what you used to say to me? Lord knows I haven't. Commitment. Commitment, Abby. There are only two creatures of value on the face of this earth. Those with a commitment and those who require a commitment of others. Do you remember, John?
Yes, I remember.
Mr. Adams.
What?
These are for you.
What are they? Well, what's in them? Well, who sent them, man?
Compliments of the Concord Ladies Coffee Club and the sisterhood of the Truro Synagogue and the Friday Evening Baptist Sewing Circle and the Holy Christian Sisters of St. Clair, all for you, John. As I ever was and ever shall be, yours.
Just a moment, Abigail. What's in these kegs?
Saltpeter, John.
McNair! Take these kegs to the armory, and then go out and find every damn pin in Philadelphia.
Pins? What sort of pins?
I don't know. The sort of pins women use for their sewing.
Okay.
Jefferson, Franklin! Come on, there's work to be done.
John, did you not hear a word I
Oh,
said?
never mind that.
John, I'm not even speaking to you.
Jefferson, I want you to talk to Rutledge. Talk to him all night. Just keep talking to him. You're both Southern aristocrats. I mean, gentlemen, please. And Franklin.
Do I have to talk to Wilson?
Yes. Get him away from Dickinson. It's the only way to do it.
I'm still from Massachusetts, John. You know where I stand. I'll do whatever you say.
No. You're the president of Congress and a fair man, Hancock. Stay that way. Tell me, Mr. Thompson, out of curiosity, do you stand with Mr. Dickinson, or do you stand with me?
I stand with the general. Well, lately, it seems he's been writing to me. To the Congress, I have been in expectation of receiving a reply on the subject of my last 15 dispatches. Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Is anybody there? Your humble and obedient.
Are you hungry, John?
No, I'll stay.
Not then.
Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see? They want me to quit. They say, John, give up the fight. But still to England I say, good night forever, good night. For I have crossed the Rubicon. Let the bridge be burned behind me. Come what may, come what may. Commitment! The croakers all say we'll rule the day. There'll be hell to pay in fiery purgatory. Through all the gloom, I can see rays of ravishing light and glory. Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see? I see fireworks. I see the pageant and pomp and parade. I hear the bells ringing out. I hear the cannons roar. I see Americans, all Americans free forevermore. How quiet the chamber is. How silent the chamber is. Is anybody there? Does anybody care? Does anybody see what I see?
Yes, Mr. Adams. I do.
Dr. Hall, I had no idea anybody else was here.
I'm sorry I've distraught you. I couldn't sleep. In trying to resolve my dilemma, I remembered something I once read, that a representative owes the people not only his industry, but his judgment. And he betrays them if he sacrifices it to their opinion. It was written by Edmund Burke, a member of the British Parliament.
Congress will now vote on Virginia's resolution on independence. Thank you for coming, Caesar, and God bless you, sir. Call the roll, Mr. Thompson, and I will remind you, gentlemen, that a single nay vote will defeat the motion. Mr. Thompson.
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire says yay.
New Hampshire says yay. Massachusetts.
Massachusetts says yay.
Massachusetts says yay. Rhode Island.
Rhode Island says yay.
Rhode Island says yay. Connecticut.
Connecticut says yay.
Connecticut says yay. New York.
Mr. Secretary, New York abstains. Courteously.
New York abstains.
Courteously.
New Jersey.
New Jersey says yay.
New Jersey says yay. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania.
Mr. Secretary, Pennsylvania is not ready yet. Please come back to us.
Pennsylvania passes. Delaware.
Delaware, by majority vote, says yay.
Delaware says yay. Maryland.
Maryland says yay.
Maryland says yay. Virginia.
Virginia says yay.
Virginia says yay. North Carolina.
North Carolina respectfully yields to South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Well, Mr. Adams.
Well, Mr. Rutledge.
Mr. Adams, you must believe I'll do what I promised to do.
What do you want, Rutledge?
Remove the offended passage from your declaration.
If we did that, we would be guilty of what we ourselves are rebelling against.
Nevertheless, remove it, or South Carolina will bury now and forever your dream of independence.
John, I beg you to consider what you are doing.
Franklin, if we remove that passage, posterity will never forgive us.
That's probably true. But we'll be long gone to hear a thing about it. Who will posterity think we were? Demigods or men? No more, no less. Trying to get a nation started against greater odds than a more generous God would have allowed. First things first, America, independence. For if we do not secure that, what else do we have?
Well, say something, man.
What else is there to do?
You wrote it. There's your slavery. What little good it may do. Now vote, damn you.
Mr. President, fair colony of South Carolina says yay.
South Carolina says yay. North Carolina.
North Carolina says yay.
North Carolina says yay. Georgia.
Georgia says yay.
Georgia says yay. Pennsylvania, second call.
Mr. President, Pennsylvania regrets all of the inconvenience that such distinguished men as Mr. Adams, Mr. Jefferson, and Dr. Franklin have been put through just now. They might have kept their document intact for all the difference that it'll make. Mr. President, Pennsylvania
Mr. President, I ask that the delegation be polled.
Dr. Franklin, don't be absurd.
A poll, Mr. President. It's a proper request.
Yes, it is. Pull the delegation, Mr. Thompson.
Dr. Benjamin Franklin.
Yay.
Mr. John Dickinson.
Nay.
Mr. James Wilson.
it is, Mr. Wilson. The entire question on American independence rests squarely upon your shoulders. An entirely new nation, waiting to be born or to die in birth, all upon your say-so. What shall it be? Every mapmaker in the world is waiting on your decision.
Come now, James. Nothing has changed. Don't let Dr. Franklin create one of his confusions. The question is clear.
Most questions are clear when somebody else has to decide them.
It would be a shame for a man who has handed down so many wise decisions from the bench to be remembered for the only one unwise decision he made in Congress.
James, you're keeping everybody waiting. The secretary has called for your vote.
Please, John, don't push me. I know what you want me to do, but Mr. Adams is correct about one thing. I'll be remembered for it.
What do you mean?
I'm different from you, John. I'm different from most of the men here. I don't want to be remembered. I just don't want the responsibility.
Yes, well, whether you want it or not, there's no way of avoiding it.
Not necessarily. If I go with them, I'll only be one among dozens. No one will ever remember the name of James Wilson. But if I vote with you, I'll be the man who prevented American independence. I'm sorry, John, I just didn't bargain for that.
Is that how new nations are formed? By a non-entity trying to preserve the anonymity he so richly deserves?
Revolutions come into this world like bastard children, Mr. Dickinson, half improvised and half compromised. Our side is provide the compromise. Judge Wilson is providing the rest.
James.
I'm sorry, John. My vote is yea.
Pennsylvania says yea. The count being 12 to none, with one abstention. The resolution on independence is adopted.
It's done. It's done.
Well, Mr. Thompson, is the declaration ready to be signed?
It is.
Then I suggest we do so. And the chair further proposes for our mutual security and protection that no man be allowed to sit in this Congress without attaching his name to it.
Mr. President, I'm afraid I cannot in good conscience sign such a document. I've never stopped hoping for our eventual reconciliation with England. But, because of my own way, I regard America no less than does Mr. Adams. I will join the Continental Army and fight in defense, even though I believe that fight to be hopeless. Goodbye, gentlemen.
Gentlemen of the Congress, I say ye John Dickinson.
You, Mr. Adams.
Yes. Mr. Jefferson, it just so happens the word is unalienable and not inalienable.
Mr. Adams, I assure you, the word is inalienable.
Mr. Jefferson, may I remind you that I graduated from Harvard.
Mr. Adams, may I remind you, I attended William and Mary.
Gentlemen, please. Mr. Jefferson, will you yield to Mr. Adams' request?
No, I will not.
Oh, very well, I withdraw.
Good for you, John.
Speak to the printer about it later.
Very well. Gentlemen, we are about to brave the storm in a skiff made of paper, towed to land. God only knows.
That's a pretty large signature there, Johnny.
So Fat George in London could read it without his glasses. Come, gentlemen, step right up. Don't miss your chance to commit treason.
Hancock's right. This paper is our passport to the gallows. But there is no backing out now. For if we do not hang together, we shall most assuredly hang separately.
Well, in my case, hanging won't be so bad. One snap and it'll be over, just like that. But look at Reed there. He'll be dancing a jig long after I'm gone.
Gentlemen, forgive me if I don't join you in the merriment, but if we're arrested now, my name is still the only one on the damn thing.
From the Commander, Army of the United Colonies, Army of the United States. In New York, dispatch number 1209 to the Honorable Congress, John Hancock, President. Dear Sir, I can now report with some certainty that the eve of battle in New York is near at hand. Toward this end, I have ordered the evacuation of Manhattan and directed our defenses to take up stronger positions on the Brooklyn Heights. At the present time, my forces consist entirely of Hazlitt's Delaware militia and Smallwood's Marylanders, a total of 5,000 troops to stand against 25,000 of the enemy. I begin to notice that many of them are lads under 15 and old men, none of whom could truly be called soldiers. On a personal note to Mr. Lewis Morris of New York, I must regretfully report that his estates have been totally destroyed, but I have taken the liberty of transporting Mrs. Morris and 8 of the children to Connecticut in safety. The 4 older boys are now enlisted in the Continental Army. As I write these words, the enemy is plainly in sight beyond the river. How it will end, only Providence can direct. But dear God, what brave men I shall lose before this business ends. Your obedient, G. Washington.
Mr. McNair, go ring the bell.
President,
Mr. Morris?
hell of New York. We'll sign it anyways.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Stephen, sit down.
No. I want to remember each man's face as he signs.
Very well. Mr. Thompson?
New Hampshire, Dr. Josiah Bartlett. Massachusetts, Mr. John Adams. Rhode Island, Mr. Stephen Hopkins. Connecticut, Mr. Roger Sherman. New York, Mr. Lewis Morris and Mr. Robert Livingston. New Jersey, the Reverend John Witherspoon. Pennsylvania, Dr. Benjamin Franklin and Mr. James Wilson. Delaware, Mr. Caesar Rodney, Colonel Thomas McKean, and Mr. George Reed. Maryland, Mr. Samuel Chase. Virginia, Mr. Thomas Jefferson and Mr. Richard Henry Lee. North Carolina, Mr. Joseph Hughes. South Carolina, Mr. Edward Rutledge. Georgia, Dr. Lyman Hall.
The cast would like to thank a few people, and we'd like to thank you for coming, of course. And we would like to thank Mrs. Hetz for being the choreographer and putting up with our crap. Served as like a multitasking woman, so we'd like to give her thanks. And we'd like to thank Karen, our piano player. She could come out here. She's the woman behind me. She plays behind there, and she put in long hours, and we'd like to give her thanks. And, of course, the man with the plan, Bob Snyder. Could you come up here, please? He organized all of this, and we just really appreciate everything he does. And there's only 2 girls, and we can't really control the boys, but he tries to do a good job, so we'd like to thank him.